Hello, welcome to one of the last route building live streams on this route. And yes, the one of is an important part of that sentence. Hello, Kango Fango. Here's the route. Let's hop back down there. And so, as the title would indicate to anyone who is perceptive enough to notice, today's stream is going to be about tying up some loose ends around here. And the first loose end is this. The grass. There should not be grass here. Instead, there should be asphalt, paving, concrete, stuff like that, like stony stuff there. So, let's put some of that stuff there. Albastro 916, hello. Hello, favorite satellite engineer, Shadows. Do you mean that as in I am engineering satellites, or do you mean I am an engineer who is currently a satellite? Because one of them is true, the other is not. Hello! Impeccable. Truly impeccable. I'll take your word for it, as the stream is 160p on my end at the time being. Oh, oh, I see. Yes. So I've got some good news and some bad news. Which would you like to hear first? I'm trying to save an art file that is many layers and is 32,000 by 300 pixels. Okay. What do you use such a large art file for? Like 32,000 pixels times 300 pixels. Hold on, can I... 1 second. Hold on, 1 second. So interactive grid generator. Let's hope this won't crash. Let's try this. So, okay, hold on. Columns. Wait a minute, can I? Oh, this doesn't, this isn't what I want. This is, 1 second. CSS grid generator? Ah, here we go. I'll cut the last 2 zeros off of that. So, on Y, let's try 3 on Y. Actually, no, columns 3. And X, it's confusing because usually X is first, then Y, but this one's the other way around. And so, on that one, it would be 320. Right? No. No, it is the other way around, sorry. Yeah, my mistake. It was the correct way around before. Also, this does seem like it's a bit laggy. So, alright, rows 320. Oh, and it doesn't even change the size of it. Okay, never mind. This one also doesn't work for what I want. Grid generator? Oh, this just looks like the same thing. Layout generator. Hold on. Let's see. Aspect ratio generator. Okay, so sure. Pixels. So 32. Was it 32? 30, yeah, 32,000 times 3. Oh, it does. I can't. Okay. This is proving to be much more difficult than I had previously thought. Actually, if I just do it, if I make the width, hold on, if I make the ratio width 32,000, and that's 300. Then does it tell me? Okay, this doesn't work how I wanted it to. Anyway, this is taking too long, so I'll just finish reading chat. Oh, the bad first. Okay. Oh, 3,000. Oh, not 300. Oh, it's 32,000 by 3,000. I wish it were. It's a scale design blueprint. Blueprint. I'll see if I can upload the flat version onto Discord so you can see. Interesting. No, not 3. It'd be 30 if you cut 2 digits. Oh, yeah, with 300, well, with 3,000, yes, but I still thought it was 300. Yeah, it's longer in width. Can I click on that link here? Like, am I alright to show that on stream, or is that something that can't be showed on stream? Oh, it'll download it. Ah. You can, but it won't load for ages. Well, then I'll not do it now. Must have uploaded wrong. I don't know. Right, so bad first. So the bad news is that I won't continue my breakdown of the Dungeons & Dragons film in today's stream like I had originally said I would. So that is the bad news. Let me know if you want to hear the good news as well. Or if or are you good like this? Okay. Because it should be a PNG. Well, it does say PNG, but maybe it's because I'm not logged in. Like I'm not logged into Discord on the website. Maybe that's why it downloads it. Yeah, it's uploading funny. I'll have a look on the after stream. But good news. I need a minute to process the bad news. Well, okay. Have your minute. Also, this needs to be cobblestones. On this little bit here, I find, well, no, I might plant, I might put a few trees there. Let me know when you're ready for the good news. I kind of like that, like this. Is the good news that you'll do it tomorrow? No. I am ready. That's good. I like that confidence. Just guessing first. No, the good news is that I've decided to actually do a proper review and breakdown of the film as its own video. So I'll actually put down all of my thoughts on it as bullet points, and then arrange them in a sensible fashion, make sure that I've not missed anything, and then talk about them a bit more concisely, and also probably edit it and upload that as a video. So that is the good news. This spline. I always think that this spline, I'm waiting for it to load in, but actually it's always underground. It gets me every time. Oh, 24-hour video incoming. I don't know. Maybe I've not actually record. I have started putting down bullet points for me to talk about, but I've not gone through the whole thing, so I don't know how long it'll be. Why no? Could do both? What do you mean could do both? I see. Will that go on YouTube? Yes, it will. What do you mean, why not do both? Are they dots or dash points? Well, the way I usually do it is, if I've got one set of indentations for bullet points, I usually put dots, like the Alt-8 on a Mac keyboard, bullet points that are dots. And then if I've got a list of bullet points indented further than that, then I use the dashes, so I can differentiate between the two. However, with the font and file format that I'm currently using this on, the likelihood that I'll have two sets of bullet points indented into each other is very slim. So I'm currently using only dashes. However, if I need to put in more, I will convert those to dots and then keep the dashes for the second indentation level. I hope that answers your question. Right, let's make these roads next. Or a Vimeo exclusive? No. Both proper video and sharing rest of thoughts you didn't get to finish on Thursday on stream tomorrow. No. No, I did consider it. Well, originally that was the idea. However, if I'm going to put my thoughts in order first and speak them logically and in a premeditated arrangement, then there's no point in me repeating myself and going over those thoughts twice. And plus, there's a larger likelihood that I'll miss something in that case. Hello, VGR, Elisa. But it's up to you. Is it a PDF? No, it's actually an RTF file currently. So a rich text format. RTF? Yeah, rich text format. Rich text file, rich text format. Yeah. It was just nice to be able to chat about the movie live. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And if you want to, like, if tomorrow, if you want to speak about the movie, not today because I really want to get work done today here, but tomorrow, if RTD, rich text document, that's not exactly what I meant. But yeah, if you want to talk about, I know that you've seen the film as well. So if you want to talk about your views on it, then I'd be happy to discuss that tomorrow. However, my own views I'm going to continue to share in the video, which shouldn't be too far away. Like, I've gone through most of, because I watched, the film, the first time I watched it was with Kang and a few other friends on Thursday. And then yesterday on Friday, I had the idea, well, I decided that I would make an edited review of it, well, edited breakdown review of it. And so I went and bought another ticket and saw the film again. Only this time what film? Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Yeah, so I saw the film again. And this time I paid specific attention to pretty much everything that I might want to talk about, and I made notes. So now it's just a matter of going through all of that and converting it into bullet points and arranging that. And then, well, talk about it. And you watched it again? Yes, I watched it again. I mean, if I'm going to review a film and actually do a proper review of it and properly break it down, then two views is, I'd say, the minimum. Because the first time, of course, you have to focus on just experiencing the film. And then the second time you can focus on catching details. Plus, you know what's going to come up ahead in the film, and so you have time to actually focus on other details and kind of look at how the film is building up certain things and how it's structured certain things. Right there, yes. Add it to watch list. Yeah. If you want just the very quick review of it, I enjoyed the film. I would say that if you know, you're going to mostly enjoy it if you know at least a bit about Dungeons and Dragons. However, it is also enjoyable as just a generic fantasy film. However, you do miss out on some of the things. The film does have things that I would improve, as pretty much everybody who watched the last Trainz stream can attest to. However, yeah, I'd say it's a good film. I'd say it is a good film, and it's definitely worth at least one watch. Yeah. Look, somebody funded local road construction. Oh no. But yeah, that's commitment, haha. Well, I mean, back in the day, whenever I watched a film, and I used to watch a lot of films, I always used to watch the film a second time the next day, just because it gives you a much better appreciation for the film, because you can focus on things that you weren't able to the first time. It's just when I not in the cinema, no, but at home. But it's just when I suppose when I got busier that I stopped doing that. I've watched things 2 days after finishing, but never in the cinema. That'd be costly. Yes, if you do it in the cinema regularly, definitely. However, well, it was only once, and I didn't have access to the film through other means. Well, I haven't seen a film in a cinema in forever, so not sure how much it is now, but I don't recall it being cheap. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the number itself, then yeah, it's expensive. Like, one ticket if you buy it online costs basically £5. If you buy it online at the local cinema here, it costs £5. If you compare that to a day rider, a bus ticket day rider, so just for the Torbay area, that costs £6.50. Yeah, they upped the price again, like I talked about previously. So, yeah, it's VU. So VEU, I think it's spelled. Oh, VUE. Yeah, there we go. Couldn't remember which way around the two letters went. Not voy. But if you enjoy it and it's worth it, I see no issue. Oh, £5 isn't as bad as I thought. Which cinema is this? Like Odeon Cineworld? I think they've cracked prices down a smidge to compensate for all the people who've completely switched to streaming services, mostly since 2020 probably. Yeah, I mean, so when I watched the film again yesterday, it was in the entire screening room, and this was 4 p.m. Friday, so Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. Aside from me, there were only 2 other people in the entire screening room for a new blockbuster D&D film, adventure film. Only 2 other people. It surprises me that cinemas are still operating at all. Oh, I don't think I've ever been to that one, to one of those. Yeah, but yeah, I was expecting it to be more... Ah, I see, that makes sense. Why didn't it quote? Said I'll bust through. Yes, that was a joke, because of the quote, yes. Okay, this needs to be fixed. This, yeah, that... Well, I suppose that's... Actually, that might be alright. Oh, I suppose you might have the zebras crossing here. But no, that's alright. That's alright for now. I can change it later if I need to. In fact, there used to be an Apollo cinema, and the lights in the showing rooms still have the old branding. I've not been to a cinema post-COVID. I mean, it's pretty much how it always was, except it's a lot emptier because people still aren't really going to cinemas much anymore, apparently. I used to see some of the Star Wars or Marvel stuff with a family member, a friend, and one of their family members, but the friend and I don't talk anymore, so I haven't gone. Well, maybe when you visit Devon, maybe we can watch a film together. Might be a nice thing to do. Although it depends on how much time you have, because if you don't have that much time here, then might not be wise spending that time with like watching a film where we're not really socializing. Right. I remember having visited a Cineworld in Weymouth, meager handful of times, 10 plus years back. Like with so many people, I tried everything to keep the friendship alive, but nobody ever wants to put in any time with me. I know what it feels like when you've got a friendship with someone and then the thing that you do, that you did together, you stop doing, and then it's like, well, it's almost like that was the only thing that tethered you to this other individual. And without this thing, like, there just isn't really much to keep you together, and then friendships kind of end sometimes because of that. Well, depending on the room prices, I'm aiming for 2 or 3 days in Devon. Whether you'd all be available to meet for all of those days, I don't know, but I'd be up for it. I don't want to put a trolley wire along there, no. Yeah, I mean, a friend coming over to visit is more important than the streaming slots, so there are other things that I do where people depend on, but streams shouldn't prevent us from spending time together. When it comes around to it, and I know I can afford it, I was imagining to plan it as a group so we can make it work. Aww. Yeah, making it work does sound like a good plan. Or I should just turn up at the door. I mean, Anthony Sarson too used to do that. Sometimes he'd even turn up at the bathroom window. No, not in that way. No. Knock, 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 shadow dice, knock, 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 shadow dice, knock, 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 shadow dice. Well, at least you didn't knock 4 times. That would have been truly horrific. So the guys can't hang around longer. See you next time. Bye-bye, Lisa. Put up a letter on that notice board Kango mentioned with a sign saying, I'm coming. Which notice board do you mean specifically? Which one did Kang know? Also, this is going to be a... yeah, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to really put this in here. This is going to be a really awkward intersection this way. I kind of have to move this over to the side. Yeah. I really should have done that before. Oh well, it's not too big of a time difference. I've already got the splines down. I can just move them across. The one I mentioned in Blender? Oh, that one. Yeah, I know which one you mean now. You said there was one 20-30 meters depending on the room. Yeah. I could quite easily do that after the stream. Why I remember that and not essential information I need, I don't know. Well, maybe your subconscious thinks that other information is essential information that you need than what your conscious thinks essential information that you need is. Also, I think I figured out a way of how I can finally make the Tales of Vestia magic system work with the gems and all that stuff. If you want to hear about it. If you're not really that interested, then I don't have to talk about it. Well, 30 meters was an estimated based on my position when I'm at my computer. 20 meter was an estimate measured from the back wall of my backyard. But yeah, not certain exactly. It's your stream, so you're more than welcome to talk about whatever you wish. I know. It wouldn't really be much detail. I'm working away, so podcasting works for me. Okay. Yeah, so I won't go into great detail, and if it does bore you, please let me know. So... Ooh, actually, this needs to be pushed further back a bit, because that's the radius of the other... Okay, yeah. So these two... They don't touch, so this should be moved up to about there, actually. Anyway, so, bored now. Well, okay, well, I haven't started talking about it yet, so that's why you're bored. If I were to have actually started talking about it, you would be enthralled. Anyway, so the way that the way that I want it to work is I want there to be spells and curses, and a spell is an enchantment put on an object, and a curse is an enchantment put on a place or an area. So the way that I want it, so the way I want it to work is that you burn, that each gem has a different set of aspects to it, depending on which color it is, and then different curses or spells require different numbers of aspects to work. And if you've got leftover aspects that don't get used up, then there will be chances for side effects to happen. And that, I mean, that was pretty much what I had already said many streams ago when I first talked about this. The difficult bit is trying to figure out how that is supposed to work system-wise. Because you've got very hard magic systems, like in Dungeons and Dragons, for example, where every spell that you can cast has a very explicitly defined way that it works. So if we just quickly go on to 5e spell list, 5th edition spells. That's just an example. I don't know, just random one. Okay, message, why not? So this spell, it tells you exactly, okay, this specific spell takes this long to cast, it has a specific range of this many feet, it requires verbal, somatic, and material components. So verbal meaning you have to say something, somatic means you have to do motion, hand motions, stuff like that. Material means you need specifically a short piece of copper wire as a material to do this, and it lasts for 1 round, and then it specifically gives a description about you can point your finger toward a creature within range and whisper a message. The target and only the target hears the message and can reply in a whisper to that only you can hear. You can cast the spell through solid objects if you are familiar with the target and know it is beyond the barrier. Magical silence, 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood blocks the spell. The spell doesn't have to follow a straight line and can travel freely around corners or through openings. And then it tells you specifically which classes have this spell. Actually, it tells you what classes have this spell. Maybe I just missed it then, last Trainz stream. So yeah, it tells you very, very explicitly what this spell can and cannot do. So this is a hard magic system, in which the spells are basically like a science almost, where you know exactly what to expect, for the most part. Yeah, you've got the sorcerer's wild magic stuff, where random stuff can happen depending on what you roll. But that's also according to a specific table of things that can happen. And then you've got more soft magic systems, where there are more guidelines, where it's like, okay, this magic can do these sorts of things, for example, and anything that's kind of within that realm of possibility is something that you might be able to do. And in this for my project, I more prefer the latter, because it can give you more creativity, but I also like the predictability of the former. So I thought, and I have begun this, and this is the new bit of information, I've thought that perhaps the best way of achieving this goal is to just make a list of all the stuff I want the magic to be capable of doing first. Saying, okay, I want you to be able to curse an area so that people walking through it are going to get lost. And they will come out of the area at a random point, and you have as to maybe protect your camp so that it is less likely to be found by someone chasing you or something like that. That may be something that a curse on an area should be able to do, or a spell on an item. Maybe a spell could be that whoever put the spell on the item always knows the location or the direction in which an item is located in, so that you can maybe track an item where it goes. And so I've started compiling these 2 lists of things that I want the magic to be able to do. I've nowhere near finished yet, I've only begun. And then once I've compiled a list like that, then I would like, well, then I might ask some of my friends about stuff that they enjoy magic systems to be able to do, so see if anything of that might fit. And then I just go through the list and figure out what's common between all of the things. Like, for example, stuff that affects the mind. Like, for example, getting lost, losing your sense of direction, or becoming charmed by someone to be more likely to do what they want. Stuff like that. Stuff like that all have common... all have a common aspect to them, basically, which is it affects the mind. And so I would write that down as a part of the magic. And then something else might be nature-based. Like, okay, I want this to also be able to affect nature. And this should be able to do this, and this should be able to do that. And then to kind of distill all of these different abilities that I want the magic system to be able to have, or to be able to achieve, and then go from there. Because all the other ways that I've tried to come up with a system for how it could work never really ended up feeling great. So what do you think? Do you think that that will work, this approach? Or do you think that there might be a better approach? Curse, enchantment on place or an area. Does that also apply to people or creatures? No. A curse will be local to geography. So you might be able to put a curse on a room, or maybe even an entire town, or a section of a forest, perhaps. But it will be local to that geography. Like in Ankh, there are where the mummy puts a curse on him in the intro cutscene. I think... See, that's the thing. Another thing that I want to... Like, in my examples, I did say charm someone, but I'm not sure that I want this to be able to affect people. Because as soon as I say magic can affect... Like, this sort of magic can affect people... Like, for example, putting a curse like that on someone, like what you just mentioned, then that just opens the gates to so much stuff that I'm not sure where it really fits. Although maybe. If so, then it would not be a curse, it would be a spell. Because then I would have to say, okay, you can apply spells not only to objects, but also to living creatures. But then, would that apply to every spell? Like, for example, a spell that makes a weapon more ferocious, more damaging. A simple spell that you can apply to a weapon to make it deal more damage. Or maybe a spell to apply to a weapon that will enable it to do fire damage or something like that. What if you try to put that spell on a human? Would that mean that if they punch someone, it also burns them? See, that's a bit... See, that's where it gets into a very questionable area. Alright, I need to extend this road. Yeah, because, like, for example, another thing that I was thinking that I would like spells to do is that an object is always very slightly pulled towards its owner. The one who... and how owner is is decided. I'm not sure how I would specifically... Like, that's the thing, because if I were to just go ahead and make very specific spells and say, this is the entire spells list, you can't do any magic outside of this, then I would be able to describe owner as maybe a legal owner, or someone who has obtained possession of an object. That might be the owner, the possessor. Because then what if someone robs it? What if someone loses it and then it gets found? At what point does it shift from who owns it? In a spell that's hard magic like that, I could describe, okay, this is specifically what I mean. But if it's more soft magic, then, well, how would that work? An object that is always gently pulled towards its owner... Yeah, or maybe towards a specific location, because that could be used as maybe a navigation tool, where maybe an object always gets slightly pulled towards the location where the spell was put on it. So that way you could put the spell onto it at your home city, and then if you go exploring or sailing or whatever, you know that this object will always pull you back home. It will always lead you back home. And that could be fun, like roleplay-wise, like a character having this pendant or amulet or something that was enchanted as a way so that they'll always be able to find their way back home. But it could also break the game a bit, because at that point, how could... like, you would never get lost, ever. You would always be able to find your way back. And so having something like the Odyssey happen, where you're off on a sailing adventure and you get blown off course and you've got to find, you find this strange land and you've got to find your way back home somehow, such an adventure would not be possible with an item like this. Now, of course, you could say that items like that are exceedingly rare and difficult to make. And that does work to some extent, but then if you consider like kingdoms or empires who have power almost beyond imagination, also I'm going to add another base spot there because I need to add buildings back here, then surely they could afford to make at least one of these objects per flagship, and then, well, you get into a lot of world building questions, like, yes, this is a thing, well, a cool thing, but how would it affect the world? How can... is this actually what I want to have happen? And if I say, okay, that is something that I want the magic to be able to do, then would that also apply to people? If it's cast on someone, then if they lay in bed and they wake up the next morning, will they have been pulled to the other side of the bed because towards the location where the spell was put on them? Do you see what I mean? That's okay. You can't see that ends there. Anyway, chat. Casting summon useful comment failed. Hello, Code Monkey. Welcome. Just tying up some loose ends on the map, like this. Aw, it wasn't useless. It let us know that you were here. Welcome in. So the original 32K, 3K image isn't going to upload properly, so here's a snippet of it. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, I see. Very useful. Well, very, very. I like this design. Are you designing this for a client or just for fun, or? Or is this a commission, or if you don't mind talking about it, obviously you don't have to if it's too personal. Okay, that's good enough. So maybe we could use a few little trees there. It's obviously nowhere near as large, but it gives an idea of scale. Oh, where did I use those trees again? Hold on. It was somewhere back here on this side. Oh yeah, we need to detail the station here as well. I think we'll do that next, because I'll forget otherwise. I like the approach. Shadice, could people also homebrew stuff? People can always homebrew stuff. Oh wait, these aren't the trees I wanted. These aren't the trees you were looking for. No, people can, of course, always homebrew stuff. And actually, in my breakdown of the D&D film, at the beginning of it, I am probably going to put in a disclaimer that any rules inconsistencies that the film has could very easily just be put down to homebrew. The GM who's running the D&D game is just using homebrew, and that literally solves all these issues. With just that little bit of headcanon, which honestly is very easy to accept. I mean, that's not really far stretch. I mean, I myself also homebrew rules and modify rules depending on whether or not I think they are fun the way that they are currently used. I am consistent with my homebrews, of course, because it's no fun ruling this way in one situation and then in another situation ruling the other way if it's the same situation. But yeah, so that would fix all those issues. However, I am still going to point out the rules inconsistencies that I've noticed, because while that would fix these issues, it's still disappointing as a D&D fan, because the target audience of the film, I would assume, are D&D fans. Also, what do I want in terms of? Do I want maybe I'll put a little bit of this grass texture over there as well. I think that'll add a nice little bit of detail over here. Anyway, because I do think that D&D fans are the target audience for the film. And if you're a fan of D&D and you're watching this film, then of course you're going to pay attention to the rules. Like, for example, a druid being able to wild shape as a class feature. Of course you're going to pay attention to that, because you're going to know these rules, and you knowing those rules and knowing what the characters can and cannot do, and actually seeing how a group of adventurers, D&D adventurers, actually is presented on a big screen like a fantasy film, as though this were a real thing happening. I mean, that's where the fun of the film is, I think, for the majority of the people. And so when they put in something like the druid being able to wild shape into an owlbear, that breaks the rules. I could go into detail now, but I don't want to. Just suffice it to say that that breaks the rules. And as someone who is familiar with the rules, I personally not that familiar with 5e because I play Pathfinder mostly. But as someone who's familiar with the rules, knows, especially if they're a GM, knows why a druid can't shape into an owlbear, and that it's for important game balance reasons, and they know that this is the rule because they've referenced it hundreds of times, and they know that this is how the game works, and yet the film that's supposed to be set in this world, using this rule system in this game, doesn't adhere to the rules. And yes, homebrew fixes those issues, but it can still be frustrating for someone watching it, because part of the fun, large part of the fun, is thinking along in terms of this being a game of D&D, and trying to picture it as such. So for those reasons, I am still going to point out the inconsistencies that I have noticed, but I'm also, like I said, I'm also going to have the easy fix of how you can just explain that away as being homebrew. Oh yeah, that looks much better already with this, with these varied grass textures along here. I'll continue to chat in a bit. Yeah, that looks nice. I'm quite happy with that. What about this little area? I suppose this can just be a little grassy area. Maybe we can have a few more palms on there. Yeah, so if you arrive with a Greyhound bus and you exit, you're greeted with the tropical palms, as opposed to the Arctic palms. And my first attempt at including your advice. Ah. Yeah, I do like, I mean, this feels much better, I think. It feels much fresher and much more natural and yeah. I mean, it's not, I mean, it is not, I don't think it looks finished, but of course you said first attempt, but yeah, this gives me a much better feeling looking at it. Oh yes, that looks absolutely wonderful, thank you. Sure, that's true, I can see that. Enchant person, cantrip or summit. Enchant person, a cantrip. Nah. Nope. But something like that. Just not as a cantrip. Yeah, see, that's the thing. There would have to be, like with my system, if it is going to be more open-ended. Actually, this is a bit too big. I want maybe some smaller palms along here. Holly palm? Yeah, why not? Yeah, if it's that soft, that open-ended, the way the magic works, then there has to be some sort of guideline, like a step-by-step guide for how to come up with magic, spells, curses that are somehow balanced, I suppose, or at least consistent with each other. So let's start detailing the station over here. By the way, did we ever... I don't think we ever came up with a name for this station, or for this district here. Did we? Don't think we did. No. So, people in chat, do you have recommendations for what this station could be called? It's in New Penzance. It's somewhat near this museum. So it might be named after the museum, maybe. Although there might be a new, more interesting name. Maybe named after the district. Or maybe it could just be named after the street or something. Because that's a thing that's in America quite often, as far as I recall, where things are named after a street, like 425th Street or something like that. I read that as carrot and parsnip at the same time. A cantrip is basically in D&D, a cantrip is essentially a 0th level spell, where you still have to prepare it at the beginning of the day, but you can cast it an infinite number of times, and yeah, in that day, so it doesn't use up a slot like with other spells. And it's the arcane version of it. The divine version of it is an orison, I believe. Although I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I played pretty much any character in a D&D game. I pretty much exclusively GM. Okay, and I want to have these benches be more closely packed in front, so like that. Cast dancing lights on Firefly. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, because dancing lights, how would you break down a spell like dancing lights into its constituent parts so that you can dynamically glue those parts together to form the dancing light spell, for example? So it's obviously a spell that creates some sort of apparition, some sort of visual thing. So it might be similar to like a silent image spell or something like that, that creates a visual apparition. Only in this case, the visual apparition also emits light, but not heat. That's an important thing. So you can't light a candle with it, for example. You can't use it to damage something, unless, of course, it's very, very sensitive to light. But yeah, plus you can... ooh, that's not the asset I wanted. Plus you can move these around, these lights, and you have a certain range that you can move them around in. So if you wanted to say, okay, I want the Tales of Vestia magic system to be able to do this, then firstly it would probably be a feat of magic and not a curse or a spell. But even then, I would have to break this down and say, okay, well, for example, things that happen in an area. Okay, there has to be some way for spells to take effect in an area instead of be localized to a specific surface or point or something like that. And then you'd have to go from there and do that for every part of that spell. And then that way I'd slowly build my range of spells until, hopefully, at some point, whenever you say, okay, this is a spell and it's actually something that I want you to be able to do in the game, I could say, okay, you use this part, you use this part, you use that part, you combine those together, and you follow the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, profit, and then you get this spell, and it does the thing you want it to do. That's the end goal. It's just getting there. That's the tricky bit. Okay, well, good to know that what I said is true. I have no idea what I was referencing, though, what you were referencing. Cantrip, or orison, refers to a 0-level spell which characters in D&D or Pathfinder are usually able to cast as often as they want. Shares, although with the object that's always slightly pulled towards a specific location, what would happen if you're on the other side of the planet from said location? Would it just be pulled towards the ground? Yeah, it would. Would it just be like gravity has a slightly larger effect on it? Yes. Like the object's just a bit heavier? Yes. Oh, sorry, I read that as useless before. It's my own bus company idea that I use to learn design skills with. It originally started with me messing around on paper. Well, it sounds like a very fun project. Well, if the useful comment fails to summon, what remains could be useless? Good point. Suggest Elio Vera by Greyhound Palms. Do you mean as the name for the station? Yeah, it's not finished yet. It definitely needs work. But after months and months of trying to do something new and not coming up with anything, I'm pretty happy with something exists. Yeah, I know that feeling. I made the clouds before the stream on Friday. Ah, haha. Stream Delayton. Nah, I don't want it to be a fourth wall breaking name like that, because that pulls you out of the immersion. And every time you go every time there's a passenger train and you see what the next station is, it's Stream Delayton, that immediately pulls you out of the immersion. I hate all that 23rd Avenue rubbish. Well, it seems to work. Also, this needs to be ever so slightly moved closer. Let's see. New Penzance Maryland Museum? Well, this isn't anywhere near Maryland, though. New Penzance Maryland Museum of Prehistory? I don't think it would be that specific. If I did name it after the museum, it might literally just be called Museum or Museum Street. Even if it's not fully finished, it sure is beautiful already. Maybe a reference is nearby industry or former industry like Brewers Lane or Barley Hill. That's a good point. You should start it around. Thank you kindly. And appoint yourself chairman. It didn't quote again. Why? I don't know. Chair. Well, if you buy me the bus. Chair Blue. Chair Blue. I would love to see it on a real bus, though. Little Diddy E200 or something. It works until you give lots of directions. Go down 3rd Street, then 15th Avenue, and then 12th Street. Feels messy to me. True, but maybe if you can remember the set of numbers more easily than long, complicated names. Like remembering 3, 15, 12 might be easier than saying to remember Cannon Street and then Elm Close. Why did it always go to the other bench? And then Elm Close and then, I don't know, whatever. Someday, who knows? Yes, on a Metro Rider. Sorry, what object? Okay, that's fine. I would rather say, as I would here, go up Stanford Avenue and up the old Shoreham Road, then down to 7 Dials. Yeah, but if you're not familiar with the area and you're trying to remember all those names, I think it's easier to forget a name than it is to forget a number. Especially if it's only a small number like that. Although I suppose it just depends on what you're used to. I mean, I'm of course used to the way it is in England, but that doesn't mean that I don't also appreciate what it's like in America. Yeah, how about this then? I don't know. There's greater distinguishment. There are rules for their streets. Something odd for something even for something else. Interesting. New Penzance Museum Boulevard. I think it's too large. I don't want New Penzance being in the name of this station because it's supposed to be a commuter station. Like, you already know that you're in New Penzance because this is New Penzance. Like, yes, the terminus definitely should have New Penzance in the name because that is used for intercity trains as well. But something like this should be more local. Should be, yeah, named after a local landmark of some sort. The more I think about it, Museum Street appeals to me. Because not only is it simple and seems realistic, but it also references something that players might miss otherwise. What do you think? Down Stanford, sorry. Viewers at home will be very confused when they go to try it out. Yeah, if you've grown up in the US, you'd likely be more accustomed to 362th Avenue. 362nd Avenue would be. There's no identity to a numbered street. True. Although I suppose if you live there, or if you're familiar with a place, then I think those streets would have the same amount of identity. Why does it always select the other bench? The same amount of identity and things you associate with it as a street that has a name. Because the names, sometimes they apply to a local landmark, but oftentimes no, it's just named after something that isn't really that relevant. Like, for example, I don't know, a tree species like Oak Road or something. Yes, at one point there might have been oaks there, but often that isn't the case anymore. Or it could be maybe named after a general or an admiral or something like Nelson Close or something like that. And that doesn't really have that much more associated with it than a number, I would think. Try this: Museum Boulevard, Museum Street, Museum Avenue, Museum Boulevard, Museum Cul-de-sac. Ha! Museum Close. We have an Elm Grove. Ah, there you go. I like Museum Street. Although which platforms, which one? Which way did I have it? Over here. Over at, what was it, Telehay? Telehay. Come on, actually. Oh, I can't, okay, hold on, minimap. Telehay, P2 is outbound. Yeah, P2, no, actually P2 is inbound. Yeah, because you're driving on the right. So the right side is P2, platform 2. Oops. Sometimes it doesn't take the first letter. Depends on your memories. Remember when we were 6 back... remember when we were 6, we bought ice cream from Mr. Vanilla when he came around 56th Street. And 3 years later, Aunt Lilia visited, came right down 42nd Street, turned into 63rd Street, and parked in our driveway. Stuff like that, you know? Yeah, I know, I think. Yeah, Museum Street sounds good. Agreed. Bit like Fleet Street. I bet, yeah. Also, I'm going to put that back on temp locked. But yeah, one thing One thing I was considering with going back to the magic system, so I was thinking maybe a compromise would be good between the hard magic and soft magic. So, like, hold on, how do I want to, actually, how far down does this need to go? Let's go about -0.3, okay. 1 second. Should this be all caps? I think it should be all caps. Oh, and it even fits nicely, good. Yeah, so I was thinking that maybe, so at character creation and whenever you get a new level in your magic broad skill, then you can maybe that's your opportunity to make a new curse or spell that you can then cast from that, well, that you can then use from that point going forward if you have the resources for it. But you can't, but you have to specifically, your character has to specifically sit down and research and compose these very specific things that they can then do, almost as if you were writing a piece of sheet music that you can then play. Yeah? So that it's not easy to talk and type something different at the same time. So that you can then, so that you still have to think about what you want to do and which direction you want to take the character in, and to also make it a bit easier to make all of the curses and spells be balanced and consistent with each other. Because the way I had originally planned it, depending on which gems you had, you could pretty much do whatever you wanted with them. However, I don't think that that would make for good gameplay. I much prefer the other method, because the other method also kind of makes it feel a bit more special. Like, for example, hold on. Like for, it didn't take again, hold on. Like, for example, your magic users. Do I need more signs than this, or are 4 enough? Maybe 2 more at the end. Well, yeah, maybe 2 more there, 2 more there might be good. Just so that if the long train stops and you look out the window, you're more likely to actually be able to see a sign. Yeah, so for example, if your magic user character specializes on a particular field of magic, like a particular kind of magic, like for example, magic that can, actually, hold on, I can do this a lot better if I can just paste that in, hold on, Museum Street, I copy that, and then delete that. Oh, I thought I deleted, oh. Odd. Maybe I'll cancel it, then maybe I'll try it next time after the stream, and I can paste that in. Anyway, yeah, so like for example, if your character focuses on nature themed magic, then maybe when you level up your magic broad skill, you could choose a new curse, which you could you could develop a new curse, where maybe it could be that animals in an area behave differently in certain conditions. Like maybe if there is an outsider who isn't native to the area enters the cursed area, then maybe the birds sing in a specific way that might alert you to someone's presence. That could be an interesting idea for a like a nature-themed curse. And then you'd go a step-by-step process to figure out what exactly that curse would require in terms of gem resources to be able to impose, to cast. And then that way you do have to think about not only from a roleplay perspective what your character would learn, but it also actually feels like progression, like your character is spending time researching and or crafting these magic curses and spells and things like that. And it also would also serve to give you as a player more creativity, because you will know specifically what your character is and is not capable of. Because while it can be great to have the freedom of your character can pretty much do any magic that they want, assuming that they've got enough gems for it, that can kind of make you feel like, well, I mean, I could do anything. How am I supposed to know what I should do? And actually, do I want a canopy on this new station? Maybe. Probably. But if you know, okay, these are the spells that I've made, these are the curses that I've made, then you can think more creatively about that, like about how you might apply those things. What do you think, Kango? I'll bust through Code Monkey and inevitably anybody else watching this. Did I change the height of the canopy? I don't think I did. I think I just left it at the normal height. Also, with streets and stuff being numbered like that, wouldn't it also be a lot easier to tell how far away the location is? Like, say you live in 24th Street and you're due to pick up your package on 26th Avenue, you could be sure that it's not too far away. Well, I'm not exactly sure how the numbering system works, because oh well, that's 5 meters. Yeah, not really sure how the numbering system works exactly. Like, because if it's set out on a grid, then yeah, numbering the streets in the grid like that might work, and then that might be a bit easier to tell. But if it's a more irregular system, or maybe they don't do it with irregular systems. Maybe they do give them just regular names in an irregular system. Interesting. Interesting to think about. I like that. Like this. We need some clocks. No, not the shoes. Need to save. With Bromsgrove Road and Willow Lane, they could be everywhere. Wherever, sorry, right? Yeah, sure it is. Will there be yellow sapphires? Hold on, I've quickly got to check something. If I've got the list. Because I did make a list already. Hold on, let me just quickly see if I can find it. I will be back shortly. One moment. Shouldn't take too long. I'm not sure if I've got it Download, 1 second. Shouldn't take too long. Here we go. Found it. Now I just need to copy it over. Although, for some reason, it still says preparing to copy over. Actually, tell you what, I'm just gonna have it from there. Okay, that works. So, TRS-19 small. So this is the list of gems that I have decided on. So I've got 2 of a lot of the common colors. So 2 black, blue, green, orange, pink, purple, red, white, yellow, and then I've got another 2 that are both white and blue and yellow and purple, just because I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. And these aspects are from a previous attempt. Ignore these, and the prices also ignore those. But then I've also got 2 iridescent ones, which, because the colors, I'm toying with the idea of having the colors impact what kind of side effects might occur if you've got too many aspects for what you actually want to use. Like if you need something, if you just use these aspects as an example, then if you need something that only requires 1 life aspect, for example, and then you use amber as this for this, then you have 2 other life aspects that are just overflow. You don't need them. And so if you use it anyway, then that magic potential has to go somewhere, and that would go into side effects. And then the side effects would be dependent on which color it was. So if it was an orange gem, though, that would be different than if it were a black or a blue gem, for example. Yeah. So yeah, the actual gems, I've got Mystic Topaz, Opal, Obsidian, Tourmaline, Lapis Lazuli, Sapphire, Emerald, Peridot, Amber, Sunstone, Morganite, Rose Quartz, Amethyst, Charoite, is that how it's pronounced? Charoite? Garnet, Ruby, Diamond, Moonstone, Citrine, and Emetrine. And yes, these are deliberately 1 to 20 because it just makes it easier for random tables to be able to roll a d20 to get a random gem. Anyway, gotcha. Magic that can... Hold on. Oh, weird bin thing. No, don't delete the street. No. Can't be indexing either, as it's excluded. Maybe it's just busy with streaming. Oh well. What do you think? What do I think about what? I just heard magic. My question was, do you think it's a good idea that a character can only... Well, that a character has to pre-make all the magic that they'll be able to use. So when a character levels up, that they say, okay, now I can choose to craft this new curse, and I can choose its properties and how it works and what I'll need to actually be able to cast it. But then I've got this set, and this is how that works. And then I'll only be able to choose a new curse or a spell when the character levels up again, as opposed to freely being able to do pretty much whatever you want as and when the situation needs. Because I think that that limitation makes it feel more valuable, and you can be more creative. The numbering system is either even odd or street avenue, or even east, west, north, south, I think. Interesting. I've not got really any information about that. I suspect I'm not familiar enough with the ins and outs of your plan, which does sound like Cobalt, sorry. No, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not even familiar with the ins and outs of my plan at the moment. Bronx street map. I see. But look, a lot of these have names as well. If you look at it, like for example, Mace Avenue, Yates Avenue, stuff like that. Troop Avenue. I think it depends. I think you should be able to build a curse, but within limits. You can't just jump into the deep end, but build up as you go. Yeah. Yeah. I do think that is the way to go. Also, I want to get the clock. I like the idea, though I am by no means an avid user of magic, either in-game or in an RPG. Wait, what? Either in-game or in an RPG? Did you not mean either in real life or an RPG? Do any other systems do it like that? Kind of. Like, for example, in Fate, you would use stunts for this, and every time you get a milestone, which is kind of Fate's way of leveling up, you would... Hold on, let me just see. This is so many steps. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You would get the opportunity to change out your stunts. And yeah, your depending on how you make, you kind of, as the GM, you kind of have to come up with your own system a bit for it anyway, but the way that I would mostly handle it is as stunts, which is kind of similar to what I was saying, only it's a bit more open-ended. Because of the way Fate works, it's not really designed to be specifically a magic system, but rather an ability system in general. And spells are just treated like other abilities. And yeah, there are lots of other systems that handle it all sorts of different ways. And of course, in my system, the curses and spells are only 2 forms of magic. Like, those are the long-term, lasting magical effects. Something that only happens... 1, 2, 3. Something that only happens once. I'll move the benches later, hold on. Once and then kind of fizzles out. Like what a lot of the the traditional spells are in D&D, for example, where you cast the spell and fireworks go off and the thing happens and then the spell's done. Those would be what I in my system call feats of magic, which are tied to willpower, basically. And it's more complicated than that, plus I'm still figuring things out with it again to make it kind of a bit more unified, I guess, so that what you can and cannot do is a bit more clearly stated, because as a if you are playing the game as a new GM, you don't have much experience, then having too much freedom without guides to help you can be a bit daunting and can make you feel like you have no idea what you're supposed to do. Underpasses, that's what I still need here. Although I suppose the underpasses could probably be within the buildings. Although it would make sense to have them on the platforms as well, at least one, so that you can see it from where you are, if you quickly need to go to the other platform. But yeah, that's what feats of magic would be. And so I am a little bit torn as well in terms of what a feat of magic should be able to accomplish and what it shouldn't, or other things, because on the one hand, I want it to be fun and useful stuff for a game, I mean. Because it is a game at the end of the day. And if you can do all this stuff with it, but it's actually not useful during an adventure, then what's the point in having it? On the other hand, I want it to feel immersive and realistic. And in the real world, magic would likely take the place of what we nowadays use electricity for a lot of things. Whether that is cleaning or building or food preparation or farming or weather forecasts or things that we nowadays use electricity for to make our lives easier. Because that's what magic would really be used for. Maybe you'd have magic to cut your hair if you wanted to. So that, like for example, where we've got electric razors now, you might have magic shears that cut your hair how you want it to be cut. And you'd have that sort of stuff, which I think would make the magic feel a lot more realistic in that way, a lot more immersive. However, that doesn't really feel like something that would be very useful in an adventure. Okay, bins. We need bins. Shadows, apparently it varies. Some have numbers, others have names. Yeah, real love here. I use Pelz RL. I make the text collector disappear. I'm not sure that is something you should admit to publicly. Excerpt. Oh, yes. Oh, actually, yeah, there you've got a mixture of both. Also, but off topic, bit off topic, but is that suspended station look animated? I do think so. Could use prestidigitation to levitate and operate a pair of hair clipper scissors on self. Yes, you could. You could. And I think that's what the magic system in D&D is kind of like. If you're just playing it regularly, just as a player, you come to the table, you just want to have some fun, you just want to play adventures and stuff, then yeah, absolutely, it makes sense that the spells would be focused primarily on on adventure stuff, mostly on fighting. Hold on, how far do I need to raise this up? You raise me up so I can place the bin. I think it's, yeah, 0.3, okay. Also, those benches are a bit too far away because they should be, oh right, I forgot I wanted to reposition them. They should be under the canopy so that in rainy conditions, you won't get wet. Yes, it makes sense from that point of view that you'd want you'd want it to be action-based. Well, so it's useful in action situations. But if you think about it from an in-universe perspective, all of those spells in D&D had to be researched by someone. Someone had to sit down, a wizard had to sit down, if it's wizard spells, had to sit down and spend years, perhaps decades of their life researching these spells and modifying them and perfecting them into the forms that can be found in spell books in D&D in modern times in D&D. And why would wizards do that? What motivations would wizards have to do that? Now, yes, some part of it might be that they are adventurers themselves and they need magic that helps them on their adventures. That works. But what motivates people in real life to do things like that, to invent things? Because that's basically what you're doing, you're inventing things. Well, it's either social status or popularity, so whether that is romantic or whether that is any kind of social standing. And then another one is, of course, power, which oftentimes comes through money, because yeah, you can make a really, really powerful spell, but that has some unfortunate side effects. Like, you could have this powerful spell which will allow you to defeat your enemy, but you still actually have to fight them. You still actually have to gain power that way. If you've got money, then, well, that often makes it a bit easier, because then people will want to do the things that you want them to do because you're going to give them money. Yes, that's how money works, if you didn't know. And so power through money is, of course, very prevalent. I mean, that's why all of those dungeons and things like that in D&D have so much treasure, because in D&D specifically, a lot of money does equal a lot of power. And that's why adventurers, the players, are often, the motivation is to go find treasure, to go find riches, so that you can become more powerful through it. And so I think that a wizard who's going to spend so much of their life researching magic would do so largely for money. And then you think, okay, well, how could you earn money with magic spells? Well, you would use your magic spells to solve problems for people, because that's what people would want to pay for. Easier ways for their problems to be solved, whether their problems are to no longer have to do as much backbreaking work to till the fields, or to plant seeds one by one in the ground, which, yes, is how people used to do it in medieval times, for example. You used to walk along, you'd have a stick, you poke the stick into the ground, and then you bend down, put some seeds in, bend back up, go over, do the same thing again for your entire field. That's a problem people wouldn't mind being solved by magic, okay. So then you do something like that, and then maybe cleaning stuff, maybe you don't want to have to manually wash out all those clothes with potash or something like that, that is, or with lime even in some cases, that is terrible for hands and cracks skin and is unpleasant and have to dry it out. Maybe magic spell that just makes your clothes clean again. How about that? And you can see how that then pretty much exactly parallels what people use electricity for, and how people get rich off of electricity. Like, just look at Edison. The light bulb, for example, being able to have light consistently at night so that you can read, write, do other things without having to constantly repurchase candles, for example, and having a light that is consistently bright, and then you can turn on and off how you wish. You don't have to burn gas anymore. Doesn't that sound like a magic spell? And so for the magic to feel real and also to be used in world building, to make the world feel like a real place that has magic in it, it kind of feels like that would be the approach that I should take. So that it works. But then if you do it like that, then that would, one, mean magic is quite common, because that means you're selling magic to the common people, and that then magic becomes commonplace, like electricity has for us, and it loses its mystery. And magic without mystery, I mean, is that really magic still? Or is it just science at that point? And do I really want the magic in my system to feel like science rather than magic? And I think the answer to that question is no. So then how am I going to solve the issue of the world feeling realistic and magic being used for not just adventuring stuff, but actual utility things for everyday life as well? How am I going to do it? Well, there are a few things that I could do world building wise. Maybe it's a estate thing, perhaps, where people who display magic abilities to the point of it being as useful as electricity, maybe they get hired by lords or the state or whatever, and so they don't want magic that is potentially dangerous that they could come up with to fall into the hands of anybody. Or maybe it doesn't have to be explained that logically. Maybe this is one of those things that I could just make how I want it to be, and then just explain a little bit about it as and when needed, as opposed to coming up with a whole reason for it now. Anyway, chat. Yeah, the scissors. For mischievous reasons, target others. Good point. Money. Defeat villains by exposing them to the sheer sight of your pin-stripped chock-full belt wallet. Trainz, should this really be green back there? You won't see it. Like, if you go far enough back to be able to see that, then you've gone far enough back to be able to see a whole lot of other things that aren't meant to be seen. Like, even if the camera is all the way back like this, all the way up like that, you still won't be able to see the green back there. So, yeah. That's okay. Some lights even feature dimming control. Even I happen to have one of those. Magic without mystery is like a museum without history. Ha ha ha. Like the rhyming of that. Right, now let's go back to paint. I think we'll go back to... Actually, no. Should we... Actually, we're already in the station building. Mood? Mindset? Let's go decorate the platforms of the terminus. What should this station be called? How about New Penzance Hauptbahnhof? No. New Penzance Union Station. Sure. Unless you didn't mean that seriously. Although I suppose it should be something... Maybe it should be something that fits on a sign. Telephone booth paradise? Payphone thing? Don't call it telephone booth. That's ridiculous. Haha. Would fit with the rest. NP Union Station. Maybe. I don't know. How about just... Hold on. How much space is there after... Oops. Sorry. That is really odd. I tried renaming the file on the desktop, but the name doesn't stick. It changed it back to Museum Street. That is odd. I mean, maybe just New Penzance. Like this, the New Penzance station. Maybe that's enough. Because that way it would also be very obvious for people to actually know that this area is, the city is called New Penzance. Because otherwise, if you're looking at it from a session gameplay perspective, as you're coming into the city, you've got Tallahay, then you've got Museum Street, and then if you had Union Station, how would you know that the city is called New Penzance? Unless you looked at maybe some of the yard names or some of the industry names in the industrial district. But if you're just doing a passenger session, Tallahay. I see. I always pronounce it Tallahay. Tallahay. But yeah, if you're just doing like a passenger session, how would you know it's called New Penzance if a station isn't named after it? If it was just Union Station, no, definitely no. Larger sign, maybe. I mean, we've got the extra large one, but I don't. Maybe. Let's see. No. No, that'll be Union Street. Let's go with New Penzance then, but Termini do usually have names too. I know they do. Especially if they're multiples in a city. But I think from a gameplay perspective, just having it be New Penzance is good. Even though I unfortunately cannot... hold on. I need to open up a text edit file. 1 second. New Penzance. What about a separate sign on the station building? Welcome to New Penzance, with just Union Station on the repeated signs. Maybe. Although it even, I mean, this asset already has Union Station on it up top there. But the thing is, like during sessions on the nav points or the objectives, it would then say Union Station and then the arrival time, departure time, or whatever. So I think I am going to go with just calling it New Penzance. Even though I know that south? No. I'm just going to go with New Penzance. I can always change it later if I end up having a better idea. This needs to be a terminus, a large station. I'll put that on temp locked, and then I'll hide temp locked so that I can then not accidentally click on the other ones. I should have named that P1. Yeah, I need to quickly fix that. Oh, right, yeah, good point. Oh, and that needs to go on temp locked. P3, terminus, large station, of course on temp locked. P4, oh, I think I forgot to do that. Hold on. Yeah, this needs to be 3. Right. Yeah, that's why I started with the Union Station thing at all. I would make, yes. Also, on the station itself, you could have the full bit with Union Station. It just wouldn't be on the signs, no? Maybe. Although, wouldn't that be inconsistent then? Plus, in the objectives menu at the top, you don't have that much space for names. And if I've got the times in there to begin with, no, I'm going to leave it as just New Penzance, and then I might change it later if I need to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, right, it should be terminus, not large station. I didn't even see that option. Hold on. Oh, hold on. 1 second. 1 moment. Okay, everything's okay. P6, 6, terminus, terminus. And of course, go over to the other layer. And then the train. Might have to move. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move the train. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7. So, yeah. Just imagine what it would look like on the timeline bit in driver, where you can see the line in front of your train. And the text for station on there. I think New Penzance Union Station would look best there. True, but you're not really going to look there much. You're mostly going to see it in the timetable and in the objectives menu and all of that. But that's just my 2 cents. P8. 8. Terminus. P9. Save. Isn't Tuesans that wax place in London? I know what you mean, but I don't recall what it is called. P10. Okay, and I suppose I can now move them back to the normal. Well, I suppose them being on temp locked is okay. Okay, so let's have one sign here. -30. And then there'd be 2 signs there. Oh, that needs to be moved slightly because, yeah. Okay. Actually, it might be easier to copy paste this. I do like the look of that. Oh, this needs to be the one rotated this way, because it's placed in front of the other one. Also, that didn't... Oh, it's because it's... I haven't moved it down yet. That explains why it looks like it was so far behind. There we go, that's better. And these two, I think, are placed in the same location, so I've got to kind of move that out of the way a bit. Did I? Oh, I did, good. I already named this one as well. Okay, that seems pretty good. Right. Although, should every platform have these? I suppose, yeah. Although at this point, if you're in a train and the train arrives here, then it's a terminus, so you're likely going to have time to ask train staff anyway where you are. And if you're going to go to another platform, you're going to walk all the way back here anyway, and you're going to pass the sign, and then, yeah. So I don't think I'm going to need many all the way along. The point of having them here would just be in case a train's obscuring them, so you could always see what the station's called. Okay. Oh, we've gone past midnight. So, yeah, I think we did a lot today. We did a lot of the cleanup work. It's not completely done. Actually, I need to read chat. Something similar, yeah. It's two swords and poor wordplay. This? It's even Townsend in Bournemouth. Interesting. Right, yeah, so we still need to, let's have a look around. So I still need to do a little bit of cleanup work here so that these buildings aren't standing on grass. But that is quite far away from the tracks, which means it'll be very quick. I still need to fill in this area here, this dirt area with detail. So railway stuff mostly. Obviously still need to finish detailing the platform, so putting in a couple more signs maybe, benches, bins, that sort of stuff. Maybe put in shelter for the trolley stops. Go around, put in some cars in front of some of the buildings of the parking lots as well, to kind of fill that in, so that it actually looks like. Ooh, hold on. So it actually looks like the city is being lived in and used. Oh, did I not put a building back there? Oh, I didn't. Hold on, I quickly need to do this before I forget again. I actually do need a building there. And I'll need a little bit more over here as well. Just grab one of these, put that there, move it down, kind of hide that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that was a thing that we still needed to do. I will very quickly, just ever so quickly, just do that, basically. Also, that, yeah, we still need a building there as well. That's right, I didn't actually manage to finish this bit. Just hold on a moment. This won't take long. Yeah, that's fine. Once we add a few more cars and details back there, so for example, back here as well in this little alleyway. Yeah, that's something to do tomorrow. And then if we look back this way, still have to do a little painting underneath the buildings here as well. But yeah, can't really see too much other stuff that I need to really do on stream here. So I think that after next stream, when we're going to do the things that I've just mentioned that we're going to do, what I will do is I'll probably fly over the entire route and make a list of all the things that I need to still do. I'll make two lists. One list will be stuff that I'll do off stream. Don't mind the assets, they're just not loading in on the right because I'm streaming. Yeah, so a list of the stuff that I'll do off stream, and also a list of stuff that we still need to do on stream. And so, depending on that stuff, how much there is, or if there even is anything after tomorrow's stream, then tomorrow might be the last actual route building stream on the MVR. Yes, I'll still have session making streams because that's something useful for people to learn about and to be able to ask questions on as well. But I'll only be able to do that once I've actually finished the route, pretty much. And that includes things like signaling and making sure everything uses the correct speed restrictions and everything has the correct switches, and that's all stuff that I'll do off stream because that's just really tedious. Right. But two swords. Yes. Underpass 2. Payphones. Payphones. That's a good idea. Underpass. I don't think it's necessary in that one. But payphones is a good idea. Those lists will drag your spirit down. They are incapable of becoming shorter. Well, considering that they don't exist currently and thus have an infinitely small length, yes, you're right, they cannot become shorter. But no, I actually think that there probably won't be too much stuff like that I'm not already aware of. Very interesting. So, that is for actually today. It's already Sunday. Everybody, hello, it's Sunday. Intermodal yard buildings. Oh yes, that's a good point. That's one of those things. I need to actually hook up the other track to the intermodal yards and set that up so that you can pick up and drop off goods. But that shouldn't take too long because the builds of the intermodal yards are already finished. I just need to actually hook up the other track and set it up. Anyway, I'll just go back to the station. I'll save again. Actually, we need to get a thumbnail. Hey, that's a good point. We need to get a thumbnail. Now, what sort of thumbnail could I possibly get that is interesting and shows off what we've done today? Let's delete these rulers. We don't need those anymore. Again, I always sound like I'm making a political statement when I say that. And I only sometimes am. No, I'm half joking. Ooh, maybe we could have Museum Street on there with the flowers. Although that angle's not really going to cooperate much. I mean, that looks nice. You can't really read the sign on the little... But that'll work. That'll work. Maybe something... Anyway, one of these two. Intermodal yard building up in the mountains. Thanks for the company this evening. You're welcome. Sunday, Sunday. No, it's Saturday. Saturday. Nothing yay about Sunday. Worst day of the week. Why? It's depressing. Because it's right next to Monday? You can't do anything as everywhere closes early or isn't open, is infrequent, and the day is right before going back to work. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your routines. It depends on your routines. Let's take down these rulers. I said let's remove these rulers. We don't need those anymore. You need Saturday to recover from the week, and then Sunday you can't do anything. Yeah, I do get that, especially if you're using public transport like I am. It sucks. Well, at least Saturday's Twitch will be open this evening on Sunday. The only good thing about Sundays. Aw. Let's remove those rulers. We don't need them anymore. I said these rulers also. Anyway, I think I said that. So, yeah, tomorrow's stream should be very interesting. It could quite possibly be the last building stream on the MVR. And then, oh, these, I probably just read wrong then, yeah. And also, the movie breakdown I'll be working on. So that shouldn't take too long, because it's literally just me making bullet points, organizing the bullet points, and then recording myself talking about the film, and then editing it slightly and uploading it. So, yeah. Have a good rest of your evening and good night. Thank you. You too. Breakdown. Where will it be available? On YouTube. Jupiter. Good point. Jupiter, yes. On YouTube. I'll make sure that you know where it's available when it's available. Let's put it that way. Could have said, have a good breakdown, yeah. Anyway, good night. I mean, it does sound a bit mean, but I know you'd mean it jokingly. So, anyway, good night, everybody. Code Monkey, Albastro, Kangafango, everybody, good night.